Let's talk about the new Superman movie.
I want this movie to do well so badly. I haven't seen anything else that he's done where I was like, oh, this is heavy-handed preachy. Like I've always been able to enjoy his stuff because the tone is so unique.
James Gunn said that Superman is the story of America, an immigrant that comes from another place. But for me, it's mostly a story that says basic human kindness is a value and it's something we have lost.
I like that. If he can play with that well, really make me agree that I'm not being preached to. Human kindness is a dope value. And I would love to see a movie that reinforces that. But if it feels like it's being reinforced in a partisan way, then it's like people are gonna lose their shit. One thing I will say is when you're writing a screenplay, one of the first things you want to do is put a sticky on your computer that says what the theme of your story is, and every scene should go back to your theme. So people are talking about Superman like it shouldn't be about something. It should be about something. The great irony is Superman used to be about American values. Now, what I find interesting is he going to shy away from what I will call traditional American values. That's going to piss a lot of people off if he does. If Superman becomes a stand-in for, woke ideology or whatever, then yes, people are going to rave like lunatics. My hope is that he doesn't do that. My hope is that he offers a unique spin on having values, standing up for people, and it's done in a tasteful way that feels like theme exploration rather than preach. Theme should always be addressed at two levels. One is a question, and second is an answer. And so the entire story should be it as a question until the very end, when the main character has to make a decision on what they believe about the question that the theme asks. And by making that decision, they are able to overcome the final obstacle. And that without coming to that realization about the theme and finally embracing it, or, overcoming their fear, limitation, block, or wound, whatever, when that becomes they finally make that decision about the theme, it changes their behavior, and then they're able to do the thing. That's when movies become extremely satisfying.
And Kellyanne Conway has started to lose her shit.
We don't go to the movie theater to be lectured to and to have somebody throw their ideology onto us. I wonder if it'll be successful.
You don't go to the movie to feel lectured to, but feel is the operative word. You are actually going to have somebody explore an idea that matters about the human condition and to ultimately say something about that thing. Now, you may like your movie where they say it really subtle, and in the end, you're like, wow, I'm not sure how I feel about that, and you're really left to draw your own conclusions. Hey, fair enough. You very much are there to watch a bunch of creative people explore an idea.
I think they're going to end up trying to manipulate it.
They're going to try to spin it because it's left-leaning or whatever.
Immigrant, even the fact that this is now even a discussion about it just kind of shows where we are just as a society, that movies themselves can be manipulated in that way. Because to your point, Superman is an immigrant, so it's not like
it is, but that was never the big draw.
Yeah, so but that's what it's like, yes, but to look at it and tilt your head, I guess.
Here's what I would say, if you really want to make Superman an immigrant story, I think there actually is a way to do it that's super dope that will bring Americans together, and it would go like this. America is the country that attracts the best and the brightest. If Superman is making it clear that he has gratitude for having landed in America, a place where we have freedom of speech and that, we're not being oppressed the way that we are in other places. You don't want to state all of that stuff explicitly because so many of those words are like buzzwords. They're what Michael Mouse would call mousetraps. And so they're going to go off in people's minds. You want to avoid that like the fucking plague. But if he's dealing with those ideas, and it's like, okay, this is a place that attracts the best and the brightest. This is a place where we love each other, we look out for each other, that we aren't the place that's super subdivided, that we can look out and see a whole bunch of different kind of people and stand up for them. If you push that to the background, this is one of the most important things as a writer. The things that you are most eager to say, push to the background. You don't want to make it about that thing on its face. This is where people will be like, it's too on the nose. That's when it's like the thing you want to say, instead of being in the background or the setup is in the background, it's like, you don't want to do that. Take Top Gun. This is a great example. So Top Gun is literally a recruitment video for the Navy. They did it in conjunction with the Pentagon. So I mean that literally. They brought in an extremely talented creative team, and the creative team was like, we have to push that to the background. We've got to give our main character what's known as a fear, limitation, block, or wound. So there has to be something wrong with him. He's broken in some way, and we're going to watch him. And the more characters in the story that you can break so that they all have their arc, they all have to learn something. And if they can all represent different parts of the theme so that it comes together in the end, and they all learn their piece to set up the main character to learn his piece, which of course needs to be the biggest and the best and the one that gives you the chills and all of that, then it all works. If your goal is recruit for the Navy You don't do what Michael Bay does and pull that right up to the front and make everything just like a super cool video. You push it to the background, you focus on a character who's got this emotional problem, and we forget that we're watching a Navy recruitment video because I'm so invested in this human overcoming this thing that I recognize in myself. And this is part of the way that people will struggle with Superman, is Superman's invulnerable. How do you make this guy relatable? He's, whatever, 6'2", 220 pounds, literally impervious. He's going to be able to get the girl certainly in Superman mode. So it's like, you're always going to struggle as a writer. Like, what's his fear, limitation, block, or wound? Like, which is what I think Gunn is signaling by showing you in the beginning Superman's breaking. So, but now you create this weird tension with the audience who wants in Superman what I call the invincible winner. So it's like, no, hold on. You don't understand what I want from Superman. I want an invincible winner. But you have to understand how to fuck with kryptonite. I could really go down this rabbit hole. And so Superman becomes both one of the hardest characters to write ever. But the reason they had to create kryptonite was you had to have something that put him in danger. When you play with it right, it can be really, really interesting. But this was a high risk project to take on. I'm super excited to see if Gunn can pull it off.
Skirberderba says, my girl is a writer. One of her rules is that everything she wants, quote, to say is regulated to subtext. So you're supposed to kind of like...
Smart. Because if you can get the audience to feel like they get it, like you didn't say it, they get it. It makes them feel smart.
Yeah.
And if you can make the audience feel smart, oh my God, you're going to win.
There is a level of movies are propaganda. There is media. So we do have to kind of teach people certain things. And do you think that the reason that our culture is shifted now, is that downstream of the movies and TV shows, or are those just a reflection of where we are in time right now?
It's everything, but it really is downstream of emotion. Emotion is downstream of economics. Burying people under debt, breaking the housing market, and inflating their future away is your big problem. If you changed all of that, then you will change the way that people grow up 1,000%. Kids' entertainment especially is propagandistic. I try to be very thoughtful. It is the thing that makes me want to make games for kids, but it is also the thing that makes me go, I have an obligation to the parents, first of all. I have an obligation to the kids that if you encounter these ideas, it will make your life better, not worse. I'm trying to deal with, call it foundational ideas. So I'm not trying to be at the level of policy or politics. I'm trying to be at the level of like, I understand that if you're not fulfilled in life, you're going to struggle forever. And so how do I help kids gain control of their emotions and things like that? My stories will always be secretly, not so secretly, about empowerment. Like, how do you get better? What I call the only belief that matters. If you put time and attention into getting better at something, you will get better. With kids' entertainment, you really do state things pretty obviously. But even that, they've got to fall in love with the character that's trying to do a thing. You've got to make that more important than anything else. Take The Matrix. If you believe you can. And if you believe you can't, you can't. And so if you ask it as a question, is that true, right? That's why, is belief the most important part of accomplishment? You could phrase it like that. And so he does the jump and he falls. And everyone's like, oh my God, what does that mean? That's literally the writers engaging directly with the theme, having the characters express the theme literally nakedly on the page. But because it doesn't feel political, you're like, yeah, like this feels like a dope exploration of this really cool idea. And then in the end, he literally has to make the decision that yes, belief is what matters. And so Morpheus sets him up by saying, you really think that's air you're breathing? You really think in this rules-based world that it has to do with your muscles? You have to understand what the rules are. Some can be bent, some can be broken. And so in the end, he finally realizes, oh, to be able to love this woman, I have to believe that these bullets don't matter. And so he rises from the dead, stands back up, and he finally makes a decision for us as the audience. And the film finally reveals its hand as to what it actually believes to be true, which is, yes, belief is the most important thing. And so it's like, cool, slots into place. He's now able to get back up. And because he believes, he's able to beat the villain. It's why it's one of the reasons why it's my favorite movie of all time, why it has withstood the test of time. If Gunn is able to do something like that, where you don't feel preached to, you feel like he's exploring the idea instead of ham-handedly like force feeding you ideology, it'll work. And so I just don't know if he's going to. Now, the bad news is that this has 91% at last check from critics on Rotten Tomatoes. And I find if critics like it, odds are I'm going to hate it, which is so weird. The audience vote matters.
Don't believe the hype. People by those scores. Best superhero movie.
If you'll call The Matrix a superhero movie, The Matrix.
That's Matrix. Not
he has superpowers.
No, he's not a super. That's not a superhero movie. I'm talking about comic based off of comic IP.
Okay, ooh, let's really think about this. The best comic book movie-going experience I ever had was Endgame. And really it was the 1-2 punch of, what was it called? Infinity
War.
Infinity War?
Yeah.
Infinity War and then Endgame. Like that, whatever, 2 or 3 year span, it really hit me. I felt like they had earned that movie. Kevin Feige, for whatever the first 4 phases, I think, he is on the Mount Rushmore of filmmakers for that.